Hello, and welcome to Tea with the Druid. My name is Philip Carr-Gomm, and Tea with the Druid is brought to you by the Order of Bards, Hermits and Druids. And it's lovely to see everybody arriving in the forest clearing from Arizona and Aberdeenshire, Costa Rica, Lincolnshire, Wiener Neustadt in Austria, Lincolnshire, North Carolina, the Sierra foothills, Texas, Sherwood Forest, Orkney, Chicago, Oklahoma, Western Washington, Belgium, Scotland, Zagreb, fantastic, Ipswich, South Yorkshire, New York, Norway, Germany, South Africa, great, Prince Edward Island, Canada, Boston, Ottawa, LA County, France, Kiev. Hello, Alina from Kiev. Yeah. Pittsburgh. It's so good. It's like from wherever you are representing. It's like we make a mandala of humanity because through the magic of the internet, we can be together. And because there are so many of us, there are 163 at the moment, and usually goes up to about 250 or something. It's like we are a United Nations, a mandala, a grouping. And if you believe in esoteric and spiritual ideas about universality and connection and particularity, and it's like we're bringing together, we're a little microcosm of the entire, all of humanity, really. So, yes. So let's take a while as people gather to just imagine that we're coming into a circle. And just as we would if we trekked a long way, some of us have come from a long way, from New York and Johannesburg here, I see, and Brisbane. We'd put down our staff, we'd have a little backpack of stuff we've been carrying. We put it down, we look around just to familiarize ourselves with where we've arrived. We've arrived in a place where like-minded people gather once a week just to tune in, open up, share their hearts and souls and feelings and thoughts together. As Twilight Tremolo says, it's good to be in the circle with everyone. Feet are sore, but feeling really good. Let's tune in and tune into your body first of all. How's your body feeling? And one word might come to you. Now tune into your heart. How's your heart feeling? And then just to share how you're feeling, to share it. Blessed, centered, body still at work in the office. Sore from an excessive amount of walking this weekend. Strong and peaceful. Fat, says Luna J. Emotionally slow, relieved, tired in body and heart, warm, determined and playful. This red and open-handed, energized open heart, tired body, cautious heart. Sorry, it's going so quickly. Tired body, heart calm though worn, open and optimistic. There must be a way of slowing this down. I know I can scroll backwards. Still beat. My heart is happy, still beating. My back is in really bad shape. Appointment fixed for the end of the month. Achy but joyful. Achy and calm. Happy, grateful, determined and joyful. Open, warm, open and receptive. Energized, open heart. Tired body, cautious heart. Body good, heart hopeful. Uneasy but tranquil underneath. It's interesting how we can have these subtleties of feelings. At one level, one can be feeling uneasy, another level, tranquil. Pretty good from doing nothing all day. Contemplative, peaceful and calm. Yes, sore from a mural painted on Saturday. Tired but excited. Waves of gladness. Tired bod, heart calm though worn. open and optimistic. Bit grumpy, broke my foot a few weeks back, trying to not get too fed up. Hopeful, happy, relaxed but sleepy. My heart is full of gratitude. Last night I slept out in the oak woods. Oh gosh, that must have been wonderful, John. Heart feels blessed, but the rest of me is stressed. A bit stressed, so glad to be here. Gratitude. Body okay, heart open, spreading love. Fragile, peaceful, blessed. Rest energized, everything one at a time. Excited for Druid Camp Alba this week. Ooh, that sounds like a Druid camp in Scotland. Relaxed body, heart full of friendship, happy to be here. Patricia, serendipity rejuvenating, enjoying the cooler temperature, but weary. Lots and lots and lots, so many. I can't say them all, there's so many. Socially full, happy and exhausted. So I'm feeling calm, rested, and open, I think. Yeah, open. I had a little snooze before, just about half an hour before we were due to go on air. I suddenly felt really tired and I lay down on the floor, just on the floor here. And it's always a bit of a gamble. I don't know if you find this with having a snooze, is you can sometimes wake up and feel kind of groggy, even a bit grumpy perhaps, or, like you want more, oh gosh, can I just sleep for hours, or it can refresh you. Sometimes a bit of both, so I woke up thinking, oh, that was a mistake. Now I won't know what to talk about. I feel all groggy, but now I'm awake. So this is what I wanted to talk about. I was, how do I say, a long time ago, I got to know somebody who was a friend of Prince Charles. And I remember it really clearly. We were having dinner in France. We wwere traveling. We'd been to Chartres Cathedral. And he was saying how Prince Charles was this really spiritually enlightened guy who was really, really switched on and really understood, things at a very deep esoteric level and was familiar with the Western spiritual tradition, with the Eastern spiritual, was very knowledgeable about spirituality, but also about contemporary affairs and the crises facing the planet. And I accepted this and I thought this was really interesting. And then in 15 years ago, this book came out. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's got Harmony. His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, co-written together with Tony Juniper and Ian Skelly. And it's the most fantastic book. And I was absolutely knocked out by it. And in it, he starts off by saying, people used to think I was crazy and they'd say I was talking with trees. And then one minute I was talking about architecture and bemoaning modernist architecture. Another time I was in my garden and promoting organic agriculture. And they thought I was kind of all over the place. But I want to tell you that this is all part of a grand plan, that it all fits together and it all fits around the concept of harmony. And then he goes into it, in tremendous detail. And, this book deserves a much more detailed kind of discussion than I'm able to give it here. But he reveals his understanding of Western esoteric tradition, of Eastern religions. I mean, I wish I could read you great long sections of it because I've marked so many pieces that I wanted to read out to you. But he talks about, John Dee, the Queen's astrologer. He talks to you about alchemy. He talks about sacred geometry, and he weaves it all together. Anyway, that fitted in with what I knew to be his environmental stance as well, what we all knew. Then when he became king, I thought we didn't seem to hear, at least I didn't hear much about these these questions, or him talking about them. And I thought, well, what a shame he feels kind of obliged to keep quiet about his passions and what he really believes in, like the most serious questions on the planet and for humanity right now. But no, just a few days ago, there was a piece in the BBC about how he held a meeting that he hopes to be an annual event with indigenous leaders from around the world, with spiritual leaders talking about the pressing problems. And I was really heartened by this. And I did a bit of research online, and I discovered that he's working with Amazon to produce a film series. They're currently filming it up in Scotland about developing the ideas from this book and his other ideas about the poly crisis, essentially. I just keep feeling I need to read you something just to get a feel for it. Let me just read you just a little bit. As all sacred traditions have sought to show, and as this book has attempted to demonstrate, the closer we dance to the rhythms and patterns that lie within us, the closer we get to acting in what is the right way, closer to the good in life, to what is true and what is beautiful. Rather than swirling around without an anchor, lost out there in the wilderness of a view shaped solely by 400 years of emphasis on mechanistic thinking and the output of our industrialized processes. Studying the properties, and that's what in the book, he gives you a kind of overview, runs through history, showing kind of where we went wrong, in his opinion, and how we can get back on track. By studying the properties of harmony. Studying the properties of harmony and understanding more clearly how it works at all levels of creation reveals a crucial, timeless principle that no one part can grow well and true without it relating to and being in accordance with the well-being of the whole. We need to remind ourselves of this vital, eternal law again and again, it seems to me, so as to remind the world, using it as the gauge we apply to all we do. And so there we have his core philosophy, and there's going to be a television series about it. So that's fantastic. I'm so delighted about that. But if you come across this book, Harmony, and you feel like a good read, do have a look at it. Yes, there's a suggestion that King Charles rules not only Canada but the United States now. Well, excellent. Yes, let's do that. Let's turn the clock back or forwards or however, and we'll take over again. Sue's saying synchronicity in action. I was looking at this book yesterday. How wonderful. What is the program called? Yeah, I'm not sure. It might be called Harmony. If I had all these sections I wanted to read to you, and one of the sections I was going to read where he talks about, the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus, he talks about the astrology of, Dr. John Dee, which anybody who knows about the sort of esoteric tradition, the Western magical tradition, would really understand. And it's just all fantastic. So, yes, another American saying, I'd be pleased with being a citizen of the crown. Isn't working with Amazon a bit dodgy? Yeah, well, this is a hard one, isn't it? I mean, this is such a hard one. Amazon controls so much. I noticed his son is Harry and Meghan are working with the other lot, Netflix. There's these two big corporations that dominate that world of sort of making documentaries and distributing them, Amazon and Netflix. And do you sup with the devil? Do you sometimes, perhaps, to reach people, you have to? I don't know. That's a kind of judgment that we have to. Each of us has to make. Lisa is asking, are you talking about King Charles? Yes, Lisa. Okay, so. The king is a spiritual bypasser, says somebody. Now that's interesting. Spiritual bypassing is, in my understanding, is when you prematurely you avoid the problems of the world by going into spiritual practice. You stress your spiritual work, either in your own practice or in the way you talk about things, where you avoid wrestling with the very real practical problems of being in the world. And that is absolutely not what he does, because he refers to spiritual principles and ideas and practices and to teachings in world religions and so on. But the whole book is actually precisely not about that, but about wrestling with the very real problems of climate change, pollution, resource depletion, species extinction, and so on. So that's the one thing it's not about, I can assure you. Yes. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? Well, I suppose let's make a connection with our own lives, and let's just tune into this, because I mentioned harmony the other day in a tea with a druid, and somebody says, well, don't you have to have the opposite in order for life to exist? You know, in order to experience happiness, we need to have experienced unhappiness, and that is true, I think. And I think it's quite easy in the case with harmony, because there's plenty of disharmony around. It's like you can't avoid it. So again, this kind of bypassing suggestion that one might, by focusing on a harmony, one might be turning a blind eye, you know, using a kind of privileged position to kind of focus on fluffy things rather than wrestling with hard things, is actually not the case. I think one can, or it doesn't have to be the case, because what in a way, one of the contributions I think we can make in our own life, let's look at it in our own worlds. If you think of, let's just make up an exercise on the spot, and think about our individual experience of disharmony. I'll just share mine, because unfortunately I've got the mic and you haven't, but you can by all means type in stuff. Disharmony in my life, I experience daily by being aware of the situation in the world, what's happening in Ukraine and Sudan, in Gaza, in all sorts of places, and in other ways. I've just sat on a jury service for an inquest, and you know, I was very aware of the disharmony in people's lives there, and in the challenges that individuals and friends face, and that can occur in interpersonal relationships, in my own experience as well. So it's there. Disharmony is there. So I sense in a way that a part of my role, see if you agree with this, and this is just coming to me in the moment. So this is, you know, I'm not saying this is true. This is just what the thoughts that occur to me, is that a part of a way I can be of use is to connect with a sense of harmony within, sense of calm and peace and beneficence and benevolence and positivity, in order to be able to be of more help. When I experience disharmony within, I become frenetic, upset, unbalanced, sad, and I'm of less use to people. I don't feel I'm expressing this very well, but I hope you get what I mean. There's a prayer we use in Druidry, where we tune into the quality of peace, and we ask for peace within ourselves, peace within the grove. So in the clearing now, may there be peace amongst all 284 of us as we're gathered together in this sacred grove, and may there be peace throughout the whole world. So we invite the quality that we seek, even if we may not be experiencing it, even if we may be feeling stressed or unpeaceful, we say, May there be peace within. May there be peace within the grove. May there be peace in the wider world. And that, I think, is a good thing to do. Coco says, definitely, one has to feel good to be able to do good. Liz, I was thinking the same thing about the balance between chaos and order. One of the things we used to, for 20 years or so, we used to run a camps 4 times a year, big Druid camps. They were wonderful. They were wild and crazy, and lots of kids and all sorts of stuff, rituals and all the rest of it. And now they've kind of spread out, and different organizations do them, and that's wonderful. And one of the things we used to do is we used to give freebies to the road protesters, the guys who were, and women who were on the front line of protests against the road building projects. And they were doing extraordinary things like, clamping themselves to trees, living high up on trees that were threatened to be cut down for motorway building, or building tunnels and locking themselves in the tunnels. God, can you imagine that? In order to stop the building developments. And we thought, how can we support them? And we thought, we'll give them a chance to bathe in peace and harmony and to recharge. And so they used to come and have holidays, essentially, times of recharging. Morgan is saying, I know it's a super cliche, but put your own mask on before helping others springs to mind here. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and Michael has said the same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Natalie says, I feel the disharmony within many of my colleagues near to burnout. I try to radiate my inner harmony at work to help. Oh, that's a very good example, isn't it? If you're working in a team, I mean, the last thing people need if they're feeling frazzled and at the end of their tether is another person showing up who's there's a feeling of solidarity if somebody else turns up and is also feeling frazzled. But you want shoulders to lean on, and shoulders to cry on, and ears to listen to you, and so on. Let's have a look. In the way we manage to choose to negative it out and be kind and have empathy with our own self and other, we get resonance with the environment. We find harmony. We change with life. Thank you, Paloma. I remember helping the protesters at Highworth during OBOD camp, so in 1997. It led to me joining in the protest and living at the site for months. Hey, good for you, Hern. That's great. Lisa's saying, oh, sorry, so many good comments. Humor, music, folk dance help me mitigate all the nonsense and chaos. Yes, thank you. Let me make a little. I have a rant that drives Steph nuts because I say it too often. But I didn't say it that much, actually. I've only said it twice, I think. But I said it last night, and she said, you've said this before. Why can't they, in the news, separate out the murder and do a separate program, murder news? So you have the news, what's happening in the world, and then a program 15 minutes later, 5-10 minutes, however long they want it to be, the murder news. So, because there's always some grisly, horrible murder, and yes, it's important to know this and all the rest of it, but I don't like listening to it, and I know that people get, it's horrible. It's like, I just don't want to hear it. I know it. I'm not bypassing. I'm not putting my head in the sand. I know these things happen, but I don't want to hear it every day. And there are so many things happening in the world that I think it can be separated off. Have a channel for people who want to hear about that stuff. Let's start a petition to the BBC to do that. Okay. Philosophical Phoenix. I feel like our whole species is off balance and struggling with internal dissonance and disharmony constantly because our technology has outpaced our evolution. Yes, I think there are probably other reasons to Philosophical Phoenix, but yes, I agree with that. I think probably it's exacerbated, if not caused it. I mean, maybe it has caused it, or it's certainly exacerbated it. But it's actually probably, I think, part and the point that Charles makes in his book Harmony is that it began about 400 years ago with the Industrial Revolution, and lots of good came out of it, just as lots of good came out of technology, like we're all here together, all of us here. So good came out of it, but huge downsides as well. So how do we counteract that? Well, one way is we use creative visualization, meditation, and prayer to enter a state of harmony so that we at least can benefit personally from the state it engenders. Because at the most simple, basic level, the research shows, the science shows, and our own experience shows that when we meditate, when we visualize beauty and peace and the natural world, our minds calm down, our hearts open up, and our body responds positively. We know that. It's a fact. There's no dispute about that. And that in itself is a good thing. But perhaps where we go beyond the scientific consensus around that is to say that many of us believe that the effect of doing that is not only for our own individual selves, but for the good of the group and for the wider world, that we set up a field that radiates a positive, beneficent force that ripples out. So let's do that. Let's just drop in for a few moments into a really short meditation, just becoming aware of the walls around us, the situation we're in, fully present here and now, and yet lowering our gaze now, closing our eyes, and becoming aware of the still center and of the fact that perhaps the walls and the ceiling and the floor are starting to gently melt away as we find ourselves seated in the sacred grove, in a clearing in the forest that we have built in our imaginations, perhaps even on the astral plane, if we want to go as far as thinking that. Whether or not that's true, it's certainly true that we can create a sense of being in a forest, in a clearing in the forest. And around us are gathered friends, colleagues, companions, people of like mind who've chosen to spend these few moments of their present incarnation here with you and I and all of us in this circle. How extraordinary that 290 or so of us have all chosen to be here together at this time, imagining that we're in a clearing together, sensing the earth beneath us. And we tune into the energy of the earth now. And we allow ourselves just to become aware of the earth. And just imagine that you're seated on the earth. And you allow yourself just to let your weight sink onto the earth. You can just let go because the earth supports you. You're not going to fall through it. It's actually holding you. The earth holding you. And the earth radiates. There's an energy in the earth. And as we breathe in deeply, hold, and then breathe out fully and deeply, we can perhaps allow the energy of the earth, the subtle energy of the earth, to flow into our bodies, bringing a sense of healing and of calm. And as you tune into the energy of the earth, become aware now of all the roots of the trees in this sacred grove around us. You can sense these roots stretching deep down. Some of them really quite thick roots, going right down, tap roots, and lots of little roots, all connecting up, this mycelium linking them together under the soil, all the activity, the bacterial activity and the life, the creatures moving around in the earth, worms gliding through the earth, creatures scuttling on the surface. And you sense the way the roots are drawing in the moisture, and that moisture is flowing up the trunk of the trees, and the subtle energy of this moisture being drawn up is also flowing up through you. So you become almost like a tree yourself, with the energy flowing up your body and your energy field. Flowing up, and then you sense yourself stretching out like the boughs of the trees around you, stretching out, green leaves, catching the sunlight and the blue sky, drinking in the energy of the sky. And you allow the energy of the sky to flow into you. The energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And now imagine placing your hands on your heart. And let's do a very, very simple prayer. And taking the hands from your heart in your imagination, you imagine placing them on the earth with reverence, bringing the love you feel in your heart to the earth, really slowly and deliberately, this movement of gradually connecting, allowing the energy of your heart to flow through your hands down until your palms are placed on the earth. May this earth be blessed. May the creatures on this earth be blessed. May the waters, the soil, the rocks, the mountains, the trees, the rivers, the plants be preserved and protected. We lift up our hands now, pointing our hands like little antennae towards the branches of the trees, may the birds be protected. May the trees be protected. May all life be protected. A blessing on all life. A blessing on the land. And then you bring your hands together to your heart. And you say, and a blessing on my life too. May my life be blessed. May all life be blessed. And you look around and you sense this group around you, and you stretch your hands out now and take the hands of everybody, of the person to your left and your right. And in this way, you're connected to everybody in the circle. May the calm and the peace in this circle radiate outwards. So may it be. So may it be. Squeeze the hands and then gradually release them. Bring your hands back to your heart. And as you do this, your awareness of your heart and then your whole body starts to grow stronger. And gradually your sense of being in the sacred grove begins to fade as you become aware of being seated here in your room, fully present, here and now. When I opened my eyes, the first comment I saw was Karasu the dreamer saying, I struggle to be kind to myself due to trauma. Indeed, Karasu, sometimes the hardest thing is for us to be loving towards our own self and kind to ourselves, which is why in these meditations I often include something like that, where you touch your heart and you give love to yourself. And even if it feels hard to do, without straining and without forcing it, see if that's something you can do, because I think that's really helpful, because when we can be kind to ourselves, we can be kind to others too. So many, many blessings to you. I never want tea with a druid to finish. I always want to spend time with you, but let's finish now. And thank you for being here, and have a really good week. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Okay, many, many blessings. Much love. Goodbye.